is Shilpa Gopal. Hi.
Art is definitely a tool to manage it. I am not in therapy and I think I should be. I feel like
Why were you
so many
hunting for husbands in Indian marriage setting?
The next morning I got messages being like, congratulations on your engagement, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? And then,
You were born in America, but your parents are Indian. So there's this constant battle of cultures.
I feel like I never embraced the Indian identity until as an adult. I don't like dancing. I don't like performing. I am introverted. I hated getting dressed up in Indian clothes. And now if you look at my profile now,
It's all Indian clothes.
you're like, it's all like, now I
Yeah.
love it.
Let me count on finger like how many things you do. Photography, painting, editing, fashion, style. You're also doing ethnic lifestyle right now. That's amazing.
And Instagram has been kind of like a difficult road for me. A lot of it was negative. I'm not scared of like showing skin. I'm very particular with like the type of brand I want to work with. I want it to be small. I want it to be sustainable. If it's a beauty brand, I want it to be vegan. I want it to be cruelty free.
A lot of creators just start like that.
Yeah.
This is all about passion. Why should I do it for money? When first time someone asked how much would you charge for your art, I had no answer.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
Of all those female followers you're talking about, their comments are awesome.
yeah, of course.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. When something like that happens, you were not expecting it.
I wasn't. Anything, if I showed cleavage at all, a skyrocket. If I didn't, nothing. I felt like I was damaging my brand more than I was helping it. It makes me frustrated to even like think about it because I got comments, like some vile comments. Like literally there would be people, girls and boys, like men and women would say things like, because you're dressing like this, that's the reason why people in India are getting raped. Like they would say shit like that. Why is the blame so much on the woman all the time?
You
But-
face harassment or hate otherwise outside of Instagram? Welcome to yet another episode of Jack of All. I want to welcome Shilpa Gopal. Shilpa, hi. By the way, you have an amazing Instagram profile.
Thank you.
And I feel like I am someone who is getting slowly further and further away from watching television, from watching, standard regular programs. And profile like yours are the ones that I get my, are like my source of inspiration. You are someone who who I haven't met before today.
Yes, first time
And-
meeting.
Yeah. So tell me more about you. Where are we today? Why are we here?
So I was raised in LA. I've moved to Seattle about 6 years ago, and I moved here because I got a job as a pathologist assistant. So I was working for the past like 6 years as a PA, and currently I still am a PA. I just have moved to part-time so I can kind of focus on more creative endeavors. So like I'm trying to do content creation more, which I mean, I'll get into it, but like I think I'm one of those people that whenever inspiration strikes me, I'll do something, and when it doesn't, I won't. So it's been a process of like trying to figure out how to balance everything. So I do my healthcare job sometimes, and then sometimes I'll do content creation, and sometimes I'll just do like actual like arts and crafts. Like I loved crafting. I love learning how to paint, how to sculpt. Like I get really hyper-fixated on all of these things. So that's basically where I'm at right now.
As an introvert, you have how many 120K followers on Instagram on a public profile. Do you have other profiles that have, this number of followers as well?
No, I did try to do like a travel account. I tried to do my dog. Like I have a dog. I tried to do an account for her, but I just couldn't maintain either of them because I don't travel that much, like enough to keep up a travel account. And I don't know, I just lost interest in the other accounts. So
And how about other platforms? Have you explored them?
not really. I have a TikTok. I am definitely more into the photography side, but I don't love filming videos typically. So unless I get like really hyped for an idea, I'm not typically a videographer of
I
any
see.
sort. So like that's not my preferred style. So yeah, it's basically mostly Instagram. TikTok, I'll recycle reels and put it on TikTok, but it's not my primary.
I see.
I used to make a lot more reels before. Like I've kind of stopped making reels as much. Unless it's like for a brand collaboration where I have to do like a fashion, like, oh, this is how to style whatever. When I was doing more like creative reels, like I like horror a lot. Like horror is my number one genre. I will watch every scary movie. So I was doing a lot of horror reels at a certain point. So what I wanted to do at a certain point, I was doing like there was a bunch of like TikTok trends basically that was going on. And I wanted to use those sounds, but use it in an unconventional way and make it horror. So, like, take certain trends and make it horror. And that was really fun for me because I feel like I made some really interesting, like, I was really proud of those reels, I must say.
Because
Like,
you delivered the product with added creativity.
yeah,
Like
there
it
was,
so
so
much
like,
fun.
yeah, so I didn't want to just do the
Yeah.
trend because it gets really, like, no offense, but like repetitive when you're just scrolling through and you see the same trend over and over and over again. So I wanted to kind of put a twist on like making it scarier. It could just be a random sound, and it was like there was like that one knocking one. I remember doing it like a chair, like going by itself, like a ghost. So it's like I tried to kind of do that, and I honestly kind of want to get back into doing that. But now I feel like the trends have kind of not been happening as much. Like I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not on TikTok enough to know, but I just haven't been keeping up with that. But
My favorite is the Poltergeist series, where you have
oh,
I
the
don't think-
newest ones. Like
no, the
yeah.
old one, like
Oh.
where you are not featured.
Right.
You just have stuff
moving around. Yeah, that was
is
editing.
beautiful, so good. Do you edit that?
I do.
Oh wow!
And I
did you
also-
learn editing? Like, how did you get good at it?
So basically I don't use like Photoshop or like proper, like I don't do anything on my laptop basically.
You don't? All on the phone?
All on my phone.
What app do you use?
So for editing photos, I'll use PixArt and Adobe Lightroom on the mobile.
Okay.
And then for the video editing, I use InShot. I used to have a Samsung for the longest time, so I didn't have like the apps that all these people use for iPhone. But now I can probably download
I
the
see.
CapCut and all of that. But I used InShot, and yeah, you just kind of play around with it, and I kind of figured it out as I went. So I didn't really like learn it at all, like learn from someone. I just kind of figured it out on my own. I figured out how to use like different things like fishing wire to make things look invisible and pull it. And so there are little tricks that I do here and there. It's not all editing, but like a lot of it is editing.
Did Instagram happen first, or fashion happen first, or this obsession for horror reels happen first?
So I've
What
always
is driving this?
Yeah, like I've always loved horror, but that happened later. Fashion, I also like wasn't huge on. I liked it, but I wasn't like a fashion girl before Instagram. So I kind of actually started doing mostly like I said in like COVID is when I started. I was mainly trying to do more sustainable living content, which I still do, but it's now kind of transformed into sustainable fashion.
What does the sustainable living and sustainable fashion mean?
Like how like to thrift clothes or how to make the most of your wardrobe. Like instead of going out and buying like different things, how to do that. I'm vegan, so like vegan food was a part of it earlier, like way earlier. And then I think from that I kind of like got collaborations from more sustainable brands, like a lot of it would be beauty products where it would be like clean beauty or like plastic free things. So I started with that, and then I realized I enjoy shooting fashion content more than beauty content because I don't really enjoy makeup. I like skincare, but it's not like something I want to film, or it doesn't inspire me as much as fashion does. So then I actually started becoming more and more into fashion, and I started getting more collaborations with like sustainable fashion brands. And the whole thing in the beginning was like to promote small businesses. And even to this day, I typically only work with small businesses. So like a lot of Desi owned businesses as well. A lot of like from India, like brands from India will contact me as well. So it's kind of stayed in that whole like small business promotion platform even now, but that's how it started.
Makes sense. It is rare to find someone who does all of this well. But then again, even more rare is the fact that up until the age of 21, you had no artistic inclination in the sense of awareness.
I had zero idea I could. So when I was growing up, I had really like artistic friends, and they would like we would draw and stuff together, and I was like I'm not good at drawing. Like even to this day I cannot draw, but that's really the only thing I tried. So I just assumed I wasn't good at any art after I realized I could not draw.
You grew up in California. You were born in the US and you
Yeah.
grew up in California.
Yep.
Uh, as far as I am aware, Californian schools are really great with,
Yeah.
making their students try different forms of arts and lifestyle things. How did that work out for you?
So I was a very reserved kid. So they did, we had excellent extracurricular. Like my parents put me in an extracurricular school because they both worked. So I would have to stay later in school. So they made sure to have a good after school program for me in the school I went to, in elementary school. In elementary school, I was also like bullied a lot. So I didn't have the drive to like try anything really with my peers. And so I was like, I just want a homework period. I just want to do my homework and like that's it. And my mom would try. She would put me in dance. I am not a dancer. I'm not a singer. I cannot do gymnastics. I have scoliosis. So she tried all of these different things that I just did not want to do. I have zero interest in sports. But we never thought about putting me in like an art anything. So we did do graphic design, and I was really into graphic design at a certain point.
Sorry, but your dad is a
He is. He's not a
painter.
painter, but
But he paints.
yeah, he paints, but he also kind of like stopped doing it for a really long time. And he still can. It's just we're very similar. Like we just aren't really good at marketing ourselves in that way, like as creatives, but he is really good. So I have had a brother and he passed away, but he was extremely artistic. So like he would paint, he played multiple musical instruments. So he is like probably one of the most artistic people in the family. So I think like even from there, like I think my whole family after he passed, they all tried to like become more artsy. And I think my mom, like she tried to learn how to play the piano. My dad a little bit got back into painting. And then of course they were like floored when I was like, I love art. Like, and they were like, why did we spend all this money on grad school? Like, why did you go to science things? So they were very supportive. Like, I think if I had told them I liked art in the beginning, like they were going to support my brother's artistic career, no doubt. Like they were already going to send him to like music school and all of that. So if I had turned around and said I wanted to do that, 100% they would have supported it. But like, we just never knew. I was like I don't know which brain is which, but I was the left brain.
Yeah.
It's the right brain. So like, that it was interesting to find out that I also had the gene of that. So
Wow.
it's like a lot of my family members are good at different things. So it's like my cousin, she can sing and dance, and a lot of my aunts can sing really, really well, like Carnatic music. But yeah, our side of the family is more of the like fine arts, like. And I played the flute also. I always forget about this because I really didn't like it. But I played the flute for like 8 years actually in middle school and high school.
Okay.
But I just did it for friends. I wasn't passionate about it.
So you were playing flute when you were not painting is what we can take from this.
Yeah. And that's also another thing where I was like, I'm not artistic because I really didn't enjoy band as much as like people that are actually musically inclined would have. I just did it because it was something that I could do. And then I stopped. I haven't played the flute in like years. So yeah.
Sorry to hear about your brother, and thanks for being vulnerable enough to share it.
Yeah.
So do you think that impacted your family or yourself personally, and that's why you think that you were not interested in arts until you actually came to some point?
He passed away like right like he passed away like in 2015. And I started getting into art like 2016.
Okay.
So it was like right after his passing is when I got into it. So before that, I didn't have like nothing, that was probably the worst thing that happened to our family. And before that, like nothing really stood out. So yeah, I was just basically, I didn't think I was good at it. I told my parents I didn't want to do it. I was like science, science, science. And even they were like, are you sure you want to do science? Because they did their PhDs in biochemistry, and they were like don't get a PhD. Like it's a lot of work and it's not that great. So it's like obviously they're proud and I'm proud of them for accomplishing what they have. But like they were like, yeah, maybe you should do something else. Like you don't have to do science. You can do business. You could do, but I'm not business minded, which is why it's really hard for me to like start a business, because I have so many people telling me now that when I'm making all of these little things, they're like, oh, you should start a business and sell these. And I'm like, can't even imagine like doing that. Like I have no idea how one would go about that.
You have studied microbiology.
Yes. So I have a
So you say you don't have a brain for business, but you have a brain for microbiology. How do you peg that?
I don't know. I think I'm very like I need concrete jobs is the only way I can describe it. Like I did my bachelor's in microbiology and then I went to grad school and I got a master's in health science and a certification to be a pathologist assistant.
A pathologist's assistant. What do they do?
So the best way to describe it is that if you go in for any sort of surgery, like appendix removal, cancer removal, anything, basically after that specimen is removed, it'll go to a pathology lab.
Like a biopsy or something.
Yeah, it could be a biopsy, it could be a whole
Something,
organ.
yeah,
Like you can get whole livers, we get like everything.
Absolutely.
So we'll get all of the surgical organs and each one, there's like a certain way to process each one. And you kind of just like, there are obviously like more benign things like appendixes where it's just appendicitis. Or there are big things like cancer, like you'll get a colon for cancer or a Whipple or, pancreatic cancer. So you'll get bigger specimens. So you kind of figure out how you want to section that specimen. So that's our job is we get it right after surgery and we take the sections that will be the most useful to providing like a diagnosis. So like how close is the cancer to the margin, the surgical margin of where they cut it? Has the cancer spread into other adjoining things? Like, is it in the fat? Is it in the soft tissue surrounding the organ? So we take sections displaying all of those relationships, and then histology will embed it, put it on a slide, and then that slide is what the pathologist, like the MD pathologist, will look at and make a diagnosis on. So that's just kind of a process. Business kind of freaks me out because I'm like, there's nothing concrete about it. Like, you got to figure it out as you go. And like the delegation and like, I don't know. That's why I just need like lab work is like so structured for me.
And you said you're a Tamilian?
Yes.
Okay. But a different kind of Tamilian.
No, I am Tamil, but it's just my dad's family lives in Trichy. So they've lived in Kerala for as long as I can remember. So I think we're like a Palakkad Tamil on that side.
Palakkad.
Yeah, Palakkad.
Palakkad. And you know why? The only reason I can say this is the only place I've been in Kerala is Palakkad.
Oh.
And I've been there 3 times.
Oh, okay.
That's very close to where your mom lives.
Yes.
In Coimbatore.
Coimbatore, yeah. We always pass it.
Yeah.
We drive from Trichy to Coimbatore and we'll pass that area. But yeah, my dad's family resides in Kerala and my mom's family now is in Coimbatore, but they used to live in Chennai.
You were born in America, but your parents are Indian. So there's this constant battle of cultures between school in the daytime and home in the nighttime. Share your experiences about that.
So they actually, I think I was I would say fortunate. Of course, everyone has their different experiences, but they didn't actually not that they didn't care about school, but they weren't that strict on me about getting super good grades, which I appreciated because, not that I really did any extracurricular activities either, but I wasn't an overachiever and I feel like I kind of liked it at the time, of course, because I didn't feel super pressured to do crazy good. I just wasn't a good student. Like, I wasn't a bad student by any means. It's just I wasn't that level of American, Indian Americans usually are really on their game. They're on all the extra credits, all the APs. I was far from that. I took a couple of APs, failed the AP test. I wasn't a great student, but I wasn't a bad student. I was right in the middle. And I always appreciate that my parents didn't force me to do all of it. Not saying that everyone is forced to do these things. Of course, people like achieving how they want to achieve. But I'm glad for me, since I wasn't a very school-oriented person, I'm glad they didn't put that pressure on me. So I actually had a pretty chill school life.
That's so nice to hear. So your parents did not pressure you. What did you spend your time on then? And how did that help you in your career?
That's the thing. It's I was explaining this to someone not too long ago, but I'm like, what did I do in the span of elementary school to high school? What did I do? I didn't study that much, that's for sure. But then I'm like, what did I do otherwise? Because I also didn't party. I wasn't like one of those, like, I didn't go out and party.
You said you were an introvert.
I was an introvert. I was in marching band. So I did do marching band in high school.
What did you do there?
I played the flute, the marching band and
Oh,
the
yeah.
flute.
So you were...
They put me in Bharatnatyam. I was never a singer, so I don't even think they bothered with singing. I'm tone deaf. Like, I can't. But Bharatnatyam, they put me in when I was a kid. And it was pretty far away because we lived very far from like the central Indian communities of California. So they would have to drive pretty far, like an hour each week to take me to this Bharatnatyam class, which I was very uninterested in. I did not care. They had Bal Bihar too in the same area. So they tried doing all of these things. And I don't know if it's just, so I feel like maybe it had to do with not growing up in an Indian community. Maybe that is the reason I didn't really want to pursue any of this, because I didn't really like, I have an identity as Indian.
But then did you pursue ballet or, other things that those guys follow? Who were your friends?
I had, so like my two best friends are Japanese Americans. And yeah, like I had, those were my like childhood friends, right? So I had, they weren't Indian. So I didn't have any close Indian friends except family friends, which we would see every now and then, but they weren't like going to school with me, right? So I feel like I never embraced like the Indian identity until as an adult. Like I loved going back to India. So I enjoyed my trips back to India. But when I came back home, I didn't want to do any of those things. And I don't know if it's also just because I don't like dancing. I don't like performing. I am introverted. So I didn't like doing all of that. I hated getting dressed up in Indian clothes. Like I absolutely hated it. And now if you look at my profile now,
it's all Indian clothes.
You're like, it's all like, now I love it. But back then it's like, if we were going to Diwali, I would just wear like a ratty sweatshirt and jeans, and me and my mom would fight about it. So I feel like I didn't actually embrace like my Indian identity until much later, like probably until after college.
And now you're married to...
And now I'm married an Indian, like from India.
From India.
So I think people are a little surprised by that, but and also I don't think I actually mentioned this to you at all, but we are planning on moving to India. Yeah, next year sometime. Yeah.
That is
this
awesome.
Just in.
Congratulations. Another episode on that. No, we'll talk about that. But tell me more about Venu. How did you meet him? What's your story?
So I have a cousin in Bombay. I guess was he in Bombay at the time? Now he's in Bangalore. But that cousin, so I had gone on this trip not for this purpose, but it just so happened I was in India and I was in Bombay specifically, and he was getting engaged. So, and this is like a second cousin, right? So so my cousin that I was staying with was like, oh, so-and-so is getting engaged. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So we go to the engagement, and then I see this boy, this Venu, and I'm like, oh, he's kind of cute actually. So then I at the time, it's a funny story. Like,
who is Venu to the guy getting engaged?
They're friends. So yeah, I saw him, and then I was telling my cousins that were there, I was like, oh, I think he's cute. And then the brother of the cousin that's getting engaged was like, oh, maybe I'll introduce you guys, right? Because at that time, I think I was about 23, 24, and I looked like a child. Like, I looked super young. Like, if you met me at that age, like, everyone that knew me at that age was like, you look like you're 15 years old. Like, I know you're 23, but you look like you're 15. So I'm like, there's no way this guy is actually going to talk to me, because he probably doesn't think I'm, like, as old as I am. So I like made the moves. I had my cousin introduce me. I told him, the first thing I told him was like, I'm looking at grad schools, just so he knew I'm old enough. I'm 23, 24.
Oh my God.
And
sneaky, huh?
Yeah, but then we started talking for like a couple of minutes, and then I saw people kind of like staring at us. So then I was like, okay, never mind. I don't want this to be like the talk of the town right now. So I kind of left, and then I found him on Facebook, added him on Facebook. And then we just started remotely talking to each other for like a couple of years, actually. We were just like pen pals. So I had basically only met him that one time briefly at that engagement. Then we kept talking, need webcam here and there. And then I think sometime in I don't actually remember, this is bad, but like 2018, I think we were like, oh, okay, maybe we should like date, even though it would have been long distance. So it started off long distance. I think we were both kind of fed up with the dating scene that we were currently in.
That's what I wanted to ask, like, why
I was
Why?
fed up.
Yeah,
Like,
why were you
so many bad
hunting for
dates.
husbands in Indian weddings?
It's like, I don't know, because I was on dating apps and stuff at the time, and I think just nothing was working out. Like, I just didn't like anyone. I had tons of bad experiences. So, and I knew, like, I think this worked out because it developed as a friendship first.
That's what I was going to
And it's
ask.
hard to do that with a dating app because you're going on this date for a reason. So the friendship doesn't develop organically. So none of that was working for me. So then I basically said we should like date remotely. And then,
Work, date from home.
yeah, but then he came in 2018, I think December time. He decided to come to the States for the first time to actually meet me. And
Here in Seattle?
no,
Or
I
you
was
were in
in
Cincinnati?
LA. No, I was in LA at
LA.
the time. So Connecticut is where I did grad school, and then I was
Connecticut,
doing
yeah,
my
my bad.
rotations back in UCLA. So I was in LA when he came, and took him around. I did a few trips, and then he went back, and then I was like, oh, I think I like him. And then literally after that, it's a blur. Like I don't even remember what happened after that. But he came back again. We had like a trip planned to go somewhere to China. At the time, it was like 2019. We had a China trip plan, and that fell through because he was a consultant and had to work. So we never did that. But instead of that, we went home to my parents' house so they could meet him properly. And at that trip, they webcammed his parents, and so they could meet. And it's funny because after that interaction, the next morning I got messages being like, congratulations on your engagement, blah, 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 like from family members. And I'm like, what? And I think somewhere there was a miscommunication, and everyone thought that this meeting of the parents was like an unofficial engagement. And we're like, are we engaged now? Like, so then that kind of happened. But then he properly proposed later on, like with the ring and everything. But yeah, that's how it happened. And then we got married in Trichur in 2020. So
And how long between that happening and you getting married happened?
So I met him in 2015 at that engagement. Then I met him in person in 2018. And then 2 years later, 2020, early, like February 2020, right before COVID, we got married in Trichur. And yeah, so now we've been married for 4 years, almost 5.
Wow, that's such a cute story. Tell me, you said you said you are an introvert, and then you said your husband is even more introverted than you
No,
are.
I would say he's more extroverted than me. I think we're both introverts. He's more extroverted, I would
But then he
say.
has no creative inclination.
Yeah.
Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah, he's not into that. Like he's never tried art. He's always been, but he enjoys it. Like
So how does he think of your account then? Does he like your
yeah, he does.
stuff?
And he like shoots the content
Yeah.
mostly.
Okay, he's the one who's doing all
He's
that.
a lot of the, sometimes it's me, but most of the time it's him. Like especially if it's outside, like if we're shooting out in a location,
Yeah.
it's hard for me to do it by myself, so he'll do it. The reels and stuff I typically just do it myself on my phone, but if I use the reel camera, like I like it when he does it. But yeah, he's really supportive of the page, and he is not on social media. He has an Instagram page. He has 0 photos. I don't think he even follows many people. Like I think he just has one as like, oh, I can talk to people on Messenger or whatever. He doesn't actively use it. So
Have you had strangers recognize you here in Seattle or somewhere else?
I don't think so. I'm not that big here, honestly. Most of my following is in India. Here, not really. Like I think I've had like one coworker actually, like she just got onboarded in the hospital. And I think she had mentioned something like, oh, I think I've seen her Instagram, but that's like the scope. Like I haven't been recognized or anything here.
I see. About the things that you do, right? Now, you can blush all you want. You started with painting at the age of 21, and then you just kept on
Actually,
going.
painting at the age of, I want to say 24 or 25.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's late. That's like really late to realize you're good at, and you're going to be good at so many different things. And that's the message I want to share with other people. Like there might be a 22-year-old right now thinking, well, I'm not good at anything.
They just got to try.
Wait a couple of years, buddy. Right?
Well, let the
So
inspiration strike.
yeah, so let me count on finger like how many things you do and require for you to to have the account that you have and to do the things that you do. Photography, you do painting, you do editing, you also fashion style, which is mostly lifestyle kind of a thing. You're also doing ethnic lifestyle or
Yeah.
that kind of styling right now. I'm seeing very lately, right?
Yeah.
Not
From like the middle of
yeah,
when I started
yeah.
onwards. Yeah.
Then you know how to sew,
Sort of. Like I
so
made this green top.
you made the
I
green
made
top.
the green top, yeah.
What does it mean to make this green top?
So like you take fabric and then you cut the pattern and then you
Okay.
sew the pattern and then you
From scratch.
from scratch.
Okay.
But like I only sewed. I want to keep going at sewing. I just kind of took a break because there's a lot of disappointment involved because I mess up 90% of the time, and then it takes a lot. It's like I'm still really learning how to sew. I've made a few things that I really love, like this top I wear all the time. I made like a skirt that I wear all the time, but otherwise I'm like I kind of shifted to making like beaded jewelry now that's my new thing, where I'm like making like little things out of beads, and that's way more satisfying because I don't mess up as much. So I kind of had to take a break from like sewing for a little bit because it does require a lot of like, you have to seam rip all the
I
things.
see.
So
Is the jacket also something that you made? No, right?
This one I got from a brand.
Okay, so let's talk about the top. What was the inspiration? Why did you feel like you should make something?
I think I was honestly a little bored. So basically what happened with the sewing, it's very recent, like within the last couple of months. I was dog sitting for my parents. So me and my husband went to California. I was dog sitting for them. They went to India. I was dog sitting for like 2.5 months. So I was just in California, not much to do in Moore Park. I, would hang out with my friends who are still over there locally. But other than that, I was like, I'm kind of bored. Like, there's not much to do. So I just kind of was like, might as well try this. Craft stores are nearby. We'll just go pick up. First, I didn't start like this fabric I bought, but first I started off with just old bed sheets and old cushions that I could just tear up and just practice with. And then when I was confident enough, this was the first thing I made when I bought fabric.
So can you?
So
That is excellent. Thank you for bringing this up, because this is one thing I keep on forgetting every time. No matter how many new things I pick up and I learn, the process is very simple. You go through multiple iterations of prototyping first before you spend anything on it, and then once you have a good prototype, you go into like
like I made this exact top out of a curtain, an old curtain that my parents had.
That's amazing.
And then I decided to do this after, because I was like, okay, I know I can do this pattern.
How did that turn out? Do you wear that?
No, that one was like, the material was like, this top is recommended to be in like a linen type material. That was like a crepe, like it was very loose, and it was a difficult material to work with. So I could wear it. It's not bad, but like it's not as good as this one. Like it's not as clean.
So I want this to be helpful to the listeners as well. Can you walk me through very quickly as to what was the process from the time you decided, yes, I am going to be making this particular whatever, right? So did you go on the internet and search for this thing and this color? How did what happened?
So I bought so I think, what is the first thing I made? The first thing I made was actually really difficult. So I think I end up starting, like they always say, like there are things you can start out with, like pillowcases, which are really easy. You just sew the sides together and you got a pillowcase.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But then that doesn't excite me at all. So a lot of the tutorials I was watching a bunch of YouTube tutorials and these girls that sew, and a lot of them are self-taught. And they were like, don't start off with a pillowcase or something you won't be excited in, because then you'll just stop. You'll get bored and stop. So find something that you genuinely would like to have in your closet and just start with that, no matter how hard it is. So I found a top. It's similar to this one, but it had like different structure. It had like cups in it, which is now I know is a difficult thing to sew. But at the time I was like, okay, that looks good. I bought the pattern. I had these old couch cushions laying around, and that was also a very difficult fabric to work with. It was not ideal.
The couch cushion?
The couch cushion.
Fabric.
It was like, like the Indian, it's like open thing. It's like a stiff material like they put on the back of the chairs. It's like that material. So it was a little stiff, almost like a doily. Well, it wasn't very soft, not very movable.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. It was so difficult, so hard. I did end up with something decent, not amazing, very rough. But like, I remember I like Reddit, because like Instagram kind of doesn't like it when you don't have your one niche. And I have so many different things I'm interested in. And I find like Reddit has little subreddits for everything. Like they have a sewing subreddit, and all these ones are really wholesome subreddits. So like the sewing subreddit, like I didn't put my face in this. I just showed the garment. But like the first thing I ever sewed, they were hyping me up so much. The subreddit was like so sweet, and they gave me so many tips and everything. So I found that really encouraging, and they were like, "Oh, it's really good for your first try. Like, it's actually something I didn't know it was a difficult thing to even attempt." And they were like, "It's a really hard pattern to do, especially with that material." I'm like, "I didn't know any of these things. I just went into it blind." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so this means I can keep doing this." And it was kind of nice to get motivation from people that are into that specific thing. Whereas in Instagram, no one cares for the most part that I'm sewing. Like, some people do, like my close friends and stuff. They're like, "Oh, that's cool." But like the majority of my followers aren't there for my arts and crafts. So that's why Reddit was kind of an outlet where I could share like my clay. Like most of the time my face isn't in it because I'm making projects. So I'm like in the polymer clay subreddit, and I'll make my little flowers and whatever sculptures I like making, I'll post it on there.
That
I
is so
got into
nice.
cake baking for like 2 days. 2 days. I made some pretty cakes for like someone's
Pandemic.
birthday. Yeah.
All of our pandemic
Oh no, that
pursuits.
was recent.
That was recent.
That was like a
Okay.
couple months ago. So then I got into cake making, and I put it on like R baking, and like they have like R creepy on there, like R spooky and R creepy. And so I'll put some of my horror content on there. And it's just nice to have like the targeted appreciation for like that forms, which I'm missing in Instagram, I feel like. Because a lot of people are just there for I
Yeah.
don't know why they're there, but like
Do you,
fashion and
do you have to balance between different things that you like, or what your audience? Are you audience driven, or you're yourself?
I'm kind of myself. So Instagram has been kind of like a difficult road for me because went viral on a specific post, and it kind of brought along followers that I don't know is exactly the demographic which I was targeting. I got a lot of that attention, and I got a lot of negative attention. Like that was the first time I felt like I was being, because it really went viral. Like it reached about 10 million people, that one post. It wasn't a reel or anything. It was just a static post.
Really?
Yeah, so it went really viral for all the wrong reasons, and I was getting so stressed out that entire time. I was like, "Oh my God, like this is so stressful. All of these people are like the things they would say. I wouldn't agree with it. I don't think I did anything
Okay, just
wrong."
for context, what was in it?
It was just
A photo of you,
a
selfie
selfie of
of you.
me, and like I had like jewelry on, and it was just the most casual selfie. I was just about to go to like an event, and I was like, "Oh, let me just take a quick
A
selfie."
mood selfie.
Yeah, and like yeah, and it's like you've seen my like I'm
I,
not scared of like showing skin here and there and whatever, right? So it was just a regular selfie. I didn't think anything about it. I just posted it, and that night it just blew up, and I was like,
10 million views.
not 10 million views, 10 million, yeah, like 10 million people saw it. I think like there were like 105,000 likes or something, which is crazy for me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
never had that before. And it was shared a bunch of times. And the unfortunate part is a lot of it was negative. Like people just commenting like really gross things about it, right? So I think after that, I was like, "Oh my God, this is kind of crazy." But then from that, I got a lot of followers, which I really wasn't targeting. Like I would prefer to target, a mostly female audience. And I think every like female creator can agree. They typically, especially as a fashion creator, want to target a female audience.
Is that what you're saying? That your account is actually primarily targeting female audience, and if there is any other audience who's appreciative or welcome.
Of course.
From your point of view, that is
Yeah.
straight up, right?
Yeah. So it's like,
You're not looking for male audience, because to be honest, when I saw your profile, and we'll get to that part as well, right? Because I do want to talk about the good as well. Of all those female followers you're talking about, their comments are awesome.
yeah, of course.
Oh my God, go girl, and they are actually focusing on the right things, right?
Yeah.
Look at that design. Where did you pick that material
Yeah.
from? Or, something to do
Right.
with the process,
Yeah.
or with the art,
Yeah.
or with the artist.
Yeah.
But nothing to do with their intention,
Yeah.
and, who they are, their character, and, everything else that ensues.
Yeah.
So, when something like that happens, you were not expecting it.
I wasn't.
And with that success, if you wanted, you could have created worse reels and,
And
photos to get more likes.
And honestly, like I don't like to admit it, but at that point, I was noticing like the photos and stuff that I would post that was showing it was very conservative, whatever. Almost zero engagement at that point. Like so little people engaged with it. And then at that point, I was like, I think Instagram now is just kind of forcing me into this thing, because anything, if I showed cleavage at all, a skyrocket. If I didn't, nothing.
Were you playing
So
with it, like
I
trying to
did.
experiment?
I did. And I'm like, it is nice to get likes, obviously, but then at a certain point, I felt like I was damaging my brand more than I was helping it. But I definitely did kind of like push it a little because I was like, what is going on? Like, what is this
Yeah.
algorithm doing to me now? I remember I made a post because I was getting really tired of it, basically. And
Tired of the hate and the
yeah, or
thing,
just tired of the
annoyance.
mindset. It's like, obviously, I know I'm putting myself on the internet. People can say whatever they want. Like, that's true. But sometimes I just like think about the mindset of these people that are posting, and I'm like, how does one start thinking this way? And it just it makes me frustrated to even like think about it because I got comments, like some vile comments, like absolutely vile. Like literally there would be people, girls and boys, like men and women would say things like, because you're dressing like this, that's the reason why people in India are getting raped. Like they would say shit like that. And I'm like, you know what I mean? It was vile. Like I'm like, how are people like thinking, how are people like brought up to thinking this way? You know what I mean? How could you put the blame of something like that on a random person on Instagram, not even in the country that you are from or where you're saying these things happen, instead of the rapist? Like that is like the mindset that these people have. It's like, oh, like putting the blame on the woman, right? It's like you see it all the time where it's like
Absolutely.
the woman gets blamed, like, oh, because you went out, this is why this happened.
Yeah.
Because you wore that, this is why it happened. And this is like one step above that because it's like this girl posting wearing this stuff is the reason why women are getting raped and not even giving any thought to like the men doing the raping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I can't even imagine the things that go in your DM.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Were you even slightly happy with actually your art being appreciated by some 10% people?
Well, so for one, there are certain things I post that I'm really, it takes a long time. I'm really proud of it. This post, the one that went viral, was like the most, I didn't even think about it. It was literally a selfie. I didn't bring out the camera. I didn't do any of that. It was literally just a selfie because I wanted to continue posting. I had no two thoughts about it. I just posted it. And I'm like, of all the things to go viral, this random photo that I didn't even like put that much thought into it. Of course, that's the one that goes viral. That's how it always happens.
Yeah,
And then
I've
I
heard.
kind of started realizing like going viral isn't great. Like, I think what you are mentioning, I've noticed a lot of people now when I look at my reels, all the super viral ones, if you look at the comments, most of them are hate comments. So I'm like, they'll be criticizing something random about, like, it'll be a dog video and they'll be criticizing something about how this dog is being treated. You know, like, I don't even
Yeah.
know. So it'll just be like virality doesn't equal like success to me anymore because it's like most of it is not being received with the intention that you had when posting it. And half the time, like probably like my dumbest posts have gone viral and the things
Yeah.
I work really hard on never go viral.
Yeah.
So, and so I did one thing where it was like a cute, not all of it, it wasn't like scandalous or anything in my humble opinion, but like it was like a cute bralette and it had some gold accents. And so I was like, oh, this would be cute with the sari because people nowadays are having different sari blouses and all of this stuff, right? And it looked pretty cute. A lot of people liked it. But then, of course, that one blew up again. And it was the same thing, the same type of people commenting on that one where they're like, oh, our culture is going downhill and all of this stuff. I'm like, what are you saying? Like,
How bad did it get for you personally, mental health wise?
it was, I wouldn't say horrible. Like, I wasn't like losing my mind over it that much just because I also, like, while I did take Instagram seriously, I didn't take it like that seriously. Like, it wasn't, I had other outlets to
Yeah.
like deal with it. So I had my husband, like my
Yeah.
friends and stuff.
And your dog.
And my dog, yeah. So like it did affect me. Like I was a little bit stressed, but it was more of like, I can't believe this is how these people think. It was more of that where I'm like, how can people even like think this way? Like I can't process it. I still don't know how. I still don't know why. I told my husband actually before coming on this podcast, I'm like, you know what? I should start a podcast and just interview these people because I don't get it. I don't understand how they can think this way and how they think it's okay to think this way and why the like in India, I'm only saying India because that's what I've had the experience with. And I'm sure I'll get more insight when I move there too, probably. But like like, why is the blame so much on the woman all the time for everything they do? It's just no one takes accountability for the men doing the things ever. And I think that really showcased in the comments I was getting, where women were also saying it, where it's like, oh, if you do this, like you're asking for this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, as a woman, how can you think about that? Like, of course, it's probably the way they were raised, but like, as especially like an Indian American where it's so much more liberal with the way you dress and whatever here, I just couldn't process it. I was like, how are they thinking like this? And how do you like change it? Like, I don't even know.
How's monetization? I hear a lot of Instagram follower influencers with like more than 100K followers, in jets and in Ferraris and whatnot.
That's not me.
What do you think? It's just not you, or not? There's a lot of other people who are just like,
I feel like I can't speak for other people. Like, I don't know how other people are monetizing themselves because I'm horrible at it. Like, I'm really, really bad at
so
it.
you put the blame on yourself.
I put the blame on myself 100% because like people have told me like you can do these things. It's hard. I don't know. Like, maybe you were right when you were saying like you undersell yourself or like, I don't feel like sometimes like I can ask for like actual money. Like, I have, like, I've done brand deals that give me money before, but sometimes to me those also feel like a little bit less genuine to me.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, that's why I don't take a lot of brand deals, because I'm very particular with like the type of brand I want to work with. I want it to be small. I want it to be sustainable. If it's a beauty brand, I want it to be vegan. I want it to be cruelty free. So like, I am particular. So a lot of the big brands probably pay more, but I tend to never work with them because they don't meet those requirements.
Makes sense.
So that was one thing for me where I'm like, I am already not going to be able to make as much money as someone that would work with a bigger brand because they obviously have a bigger budget.
Yeah.
So I tend to work with smaller brands. And then because of that, I end up just like, if I genuinely like their stuff, I'll just take the product. I'm like, I would have bought this anyways. So like, this is like, but it's obviously not the same as getting paid. But like,
Yeah, I see.
I end up just kind of like, if I genuinely like the product, I'm like, I'll just take the product. Like,
Yeah.
so
No, I
I'm
think
really bad at it.
I agree with you, but also like through the show, I want to make sure that I share some of my learnings. I was also, and I think a lot of creators just start like that.
Yeah.
This is all about passion. Why should I do it for money? Then secondly, a lot of creators are very soft as well, like emotional people, right? Oh, how much would you charge for them? When first time someone asked how much would you charge for your art, I had no answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
was
Like,
like,
I genuinely don't
Hold
know.
on a second. I had to Google like how much do they charge? They ask friends like, and they're like, okay, so you'll take like $15 for a 15-minute stand-up show. Like, yeah, hell yeah.
Like, I
I
don't
haven't
know
even
what
done
to
it for drink
charge.
tickets.
Yeah.
I've done it for 2 beers as well.
Yeah.
So my message is, if you are planning to be, or if you are a jack of all who's planning to pursue art and make a sustainable living through arts, the first thing you try to get better is not your art. The first thing you try to get better is asking for what you deserve for your art.
I find it uncomfortable. Like, asking for money for like brand deals is one thing, but then I was at a point like not selling my paintings, but like I would like do it for charity basically. So
Yeah.
I would be like, I would paint a lot of animals, like endangered animals, and I would like tell people like they could buy this and whatever I would be like, name your price, whatever you buy this for will be donated to a charity for this animal, right?
see.
So that's when I was in grad school still. So I was doing that, and then but it's like, again, I didn't value it at any particular value. I'm like, you name your price, like I don't know. And then even now it's like I feel really uncomfortable. Like, people will like say like, oh, I can commission this, like can you commission a painting for me or something like that? And I'm like, I'll just give it to you, like it's fine. I'm like, no, don't worry.
I love the human experience.
Yeah, I'm like,
right?
no, I'll just do it.
I
I'll
was
give it to you.
also like that.
And I genuinely feel that way. I'm like, no, I'll like just like give it to you.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I think that's just how I am. I don't know why, but like I just feel really uncomfortable. Like, maybe it's because I also think I'm not like a professional artist. Like, I'm just trying things. Especially
Do you want to
now.
do?
I don't know. I get hyper fixated on things. So, for example, I haven't painted in years at this point. I was really into it, and then I just stopped because I got tired of it and I didn't want to do it. And then I started sculpting, and I sculpted for like months, but that's all I would do. I would be intently focused on learning how to like make these little
What did you make?
figurines. And creepy
Something.
things like
Oh,
yeah, I like making little horror
I see.
figurines.
Okay, one question from Instagram actually, very relevant here. So sorry to interrupt. So sculpting and all these horror stuff. Like, one question was, what inspires her creativity and the abstractness of it? Where does it come from?
It's just like what I feel like doing at the time. Like I think for the sculpting actually, I think I saw someone on Instagram making kind of like horror things. And that's actually what prompted me to get into sculpting because I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like this sculpture that she made, it was obviously like way bigger than anything I would ever make. It was like this huge thing, had a creepy little face. And I'm like, I'm obsessed with it. Like I would want to buy that if I could. But like her art sells out like so fast and stuff. But she's like, she does it in like a kiln, like she has a proper like studio. But then I was like, oh, I could get the polymer clay and try it. And then I just kind of started making little creepy faces. And then I did other stuff too. I love making floral things, which is like the exact opposite. Like I like making roses for like my grandma and my aunts and stuff. I gifted them little clay magnets. And then like I made like a hobbit house for my best friend at home. Like it was like a clay hobbit house. And that was probably the most challenging thing I made, but it's so good. It's so pretty.
So what are you doing currently? What are you hyper fixated on now?
So before my cousins came, we just went on a whole trip and everything. So before that, I was doing beading, like the beading of the jewelries, like
Beading.
beading.
Oh,
Yeah.
like
So you like take the beads
beatboxing
and
or
you
something.
sew, and then you can
I
make
see.
shapes and
Yeah.
little things. So I was doing that. And because now I'm at that mindset where I'm like, if I see something that I like, I'm like, I think I could make it, and then I'll try to make it. So now that's kind of that's how this sewing started as well,
I see.
where I'm like, I see a piece of clothing and I'm like, I think I can try to make something similar and I can do it myself. So then same thing with jewelry. So that I've just started that. Like I've made a couple of things for people as gifts, but I've just started that. And then I also doing this thing called cyanotyping, which I want to investigate further. Like I've just started doing it, but it's basically how they used to do like in the olden times, like how they would do photography. So basically it's two chemicals. I don't know what the chemicals are, but it's like these two chemicals you can just buy on Amazon. They're not toxic or anything like that, but you basically combine the chemical 1-to-1 ratio, paint it on watercolor or fabric or anything, let it dry in the dark. And then you can put like dried flowers. You can put negatives for photographs printed on like transparent paper and expose it to UV light, and it'll like imprint the thing on it. And then so I've been playing with that a lot, and that's been really fun. So
What is it called?
cyanotyping,
Cyanotyping.
yeah, it's like
Okay.
a solar.
How did you find about that?
So my friend actually, she visited with her family like a month ago, and she gifted me like this. She was like, I was into sewing at the time, so she gifted me these fabric squares that are pre-treated with the chemicals. So she was like, yeah, you basically just like put whatever you want on top of it, expose it to sunlight, and then bring it back in, and it'll have a cool textile that you could sew something from. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. So then I went down this whole hole of that. I used the fabrics, and then I was like, I can also do this on paper. So then I got watercolor paper, and I've been making a ton of those. It's fun to see, like, you can do the negatives, which I've recently started doing because it makes for really cool old photography type vibes. You just have to get the timings right and how contrasted the negative is just to get the proper thing. And you can tone it with coffee to make it, because it comes out as blue. I think that's where the term cyan blue comes from. Like
I see.
it's like the negative part of it will be white, and then everything else will be blue.
Will be blue, yeah.
So and then you can tone it in different ways where you can make it more black and white or whatever. So I've just been playing around with that a lot. And
Coming last to the Instagram question, I asked a few, because I work in tech, a lot of my colleagues and girlfriends, they work in tech companies, some of them in social media, some of them not in social media. But every one of them is impacted by the things that you mentioned. Hate, harassment, DMs, and whatnot, right? So the point I'm trying to make is these are girls who are not even out there. They are just posting pictures at dinners with their families, and they are getting harassed, right?
they find
So
them
yeah,
like
so
all the time.
So one question from them was, what is it that the social media platforms can do from your point of view to help?
So I think there's a lot of accounts created that there's a lot of bot accounts for one. I think Instagram, I don't know if they still have that problem because I haven't been as active, but there's so many bot accounts on Instagram that just fill up like your engagement and everything with just like trash. Like it's not real engagement. So I think Instagram really needs to be better at like moderating that
I see.
thing. Like if I look at my followers, sometimes I have to do a purge of just accounts that I feel like were created as like fake accounts essentially.
But the hate is not coming from the bots, right?
I guess not. For the hate comments, I mean they have like a filter you can use, like you can filter out certain words,
Words
but
and
people like get around that. Like they know the words that are filtered, so they'll like do different
oh, so people
things.
go ahead with their own creativity to say
Yeah.
bad things to you? That has happened?
Like they'll not even bad things, just like gross things where I'm like, ooh, like I wouldn't. I think I made a Instagram reel about this at one point during this whole time,
Okay.
where like I think I had blocked the words like boobs or like whatever, like sexual words. I had kind of just blocked a decent amount of them, I thought. But they like find different ways to like write it. And a lot of it was like milk bottles. And I'm like, "Ugh," like that's so gross. And I'm like, that's so weird to me that that's the symbol for like that. And it's just been like a weirdly sexualized emoji now. And so it's like these certain emojis become a little useful for these people because certain words are blocked. So then I started blocking milk bottle emojis. And then like
And Instagram lets you do that?
yeah, they do, but it's just like you have to know what they're gonna write before you block
Which
it.
means it's a cat and mouse game between you and your.
Yeah, so I think at that time it impacted me more. Now like I said, I've been posting less, so like and nothing's gone super viral. Like I think actually, see now I think I'm even less in the Instagram mindset because I think I did have a real reach of like a million views, over a million views at some point recently, and I didn't even read the comments. Like I have no idea what was being said, but I know a lot of it was like icky, but it did not have the same effect as it did when the other thing was happening. And I don't know, now I just kind of don't read the comments essentially. Like I'll read the comments. I think they are doing a better job like showing you the comments from the people you follow slash like they're doing that now, which at the time they weren't doing that. So I would just get like a wall of just like random people commenting random things. And now they kind of limit to seeing when you
Yeah.
click your
Comments usually
notifications.
for you or something like that.
And they've done like hidden comments where you can like
Yeah.
look at those and see if you want them to be
Yeah.
out. But
Yeah.
I don't think it's a very useful feature in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. I think Instagram just has to like
Yeah.
moderate. I don't know how you would do it without blocking.
Do you face harassment or hate otherwise outside of Instagram?
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
Not
So
really.
then
Yeah.
Instagram is almost like a problem that you you landed yourself in for unnecessary reasons
Sometimes it feels
where
like
you were trying to only
yeah.
put some fun stuff out. I've seen like so many things that you put out. It's just like fun.
Yeah,
It's
that's what I
literally
want
fun.
it to be.
I saw one of the okay, by the way, I wanted to give this compliment on record as a creator, not as an artist,
Right.
because I consider myself as an artist. Okay. But as a creator, I think one of the smartest thing you do is you recycle your own old stuff into a new stuff.
Yeah.
So I saw you do this ghost crawling in the closet. And then after a few months, you yourself was opening the closet and then the ghost was crawling, which is you yourself, right?
Yeah.
Which is so much fun and
Yeah.
such creativity in
That's
filmmaking.
actually like my favorite type of content to
I
make.
love it. Yeah.
So I do want to like get, like I said, I was thinking about it yesterday after we were talking about the podcast. I was like, I really want to get back into doing things like that because that's really what I like doing, more so than fashion, more so than working with brands. I just like doing random stuff. It's just like the ideas have to come and sometimes they don't always come and you get like that writer's block type thing where you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, or sometimes logistically it doesn't really work out. So I have a few ideas that I want to do, but I need to figure out how to do it.
I think people like you and I just, it's like an endless pursuit of things because after our conversation, what I figured is that, just like a lot of people that I speak to on this podcast, there's no specific definition for success for you. Things may be hard, everybody's got to pay bills. We do it somehow. But then that doesn't deter you from trying new things or wearing yourself, out there for the people, despite all the harassment, despite all the unwanted attention. You are still at it.
Yeah.
There is something that's driving you. I don't think I will be able to figure that out. Maybe you will not be able to figure that out about myself or, people listening. But the point you and I are trying to make is you just still got to do what you got to do. You just be yourself, because the moment you stop being yourself, that's the death of you, right?
Yeah.
And we are all going to die someday. Why today? So thank you so much for inspiring me and, answering all of my, curious questions. What are some tools that you use for managing and maintaining your mental health? For example, journaling, therapy, or is your art is a tool for your
Art
mental
is
health?
definitely a tool to manage it. I am not in therapy, and I think I should be. Like, I feel like there are a lot of things that I feel the need. Like, I understand why people go to therapy. Like, after all of this stuff, I'm like, yeah, it might be helpful. I just haven't. It's a lot of work, like having to find like proper ones. I just haven't gotten into it. But art, definitely. That's why I took such a break, and I've literally just been focusing on my art versus content. Um, Other than that, like, I like gaming. Like, I like Pokemon. I like playing games on my Switch. That I can get lost in. Like, I get hyper fixated. So if I'm playing a game, I will be playing that game for like 2 weeks, and I will only be playing the game. Like, there's no like middle ground for me. It's like I'll go all into one thing after the other. And when I get back into Instagram, it'll be all in again, where I'll be posting. You'll know when it
Yeah.
happens, because I'll be posting every day. But yeah, so it's like I have the different hyper fixations actually help me, because it does force me to take a break from certain things, because I just don't want to do other things. So like I'll game, I'll watch TV, I'll do the crafts and stuff. But yeah, there's lots of different outlets I have.
So, what is your message to our listeners who are primarily people caught up between multiple desires in the arts and, entertainment field, or anything else that they want to do, even rocket science? Who cares?
So I think for me, at least, the biggest, I don't consider myself much of a doer. Like, I have a lot of ideas. And I think only recently have I started actually implementing them, like making the accounts, making the art, making whatever. I would always think about it. I would just never actually do it. And I still, like, even the Instagram account, I wanted to do that for so long. And I was always just like really self-conscious and scared, and I didn't want to do it. So I think you just have to do it. And even now, there are certain things where if I want to progress, like, part of me wants to make like a Twitch account sometimes where I can play games or do a podcast. Like, I've thought about all of these things, and I just never do it. And I think literally all you have to do is just do it.
Just do it.
And I think I mentioned to you, like, I'm in a pretty privileged position where I can do all of this. Just I can do whatever I want, basically, because like we are okay, like, money wise. And I know a lot of people aren't. And when I started it, I was working full time, and I honestly feel like when I was working full time, just having the structure to have the stuff you're pursuing after your full time job, it kind of feels like a break, and like, oh, this is what I can do to, have a little peace after work. So I think I was actually a lot more productive when I was working. And when I quit, I was in this impression where I'm like, I'm going to make content creation a full-time job. But then having to manage your own time when you have a full day of anything you need to do, anything you want to do, it was so hard. like how I'm not a self-motivated person. So it became hard for me. So that's why I'm like, even if you have like a full-time job, especially if you have a full-time job, I think it's important to make time for these little things you want to try out. And you just have to like, just do it. Like, Amazon is so accessible now. So any art you want to try, you don't even have to leave your house. You just get all the materials and do it
Absolutely.
at home. So yeah, I think you just have to try it. And like, even if you think you don't have time, if you really want to try it, you can probably make some time like to do it, which I kind of wish I told myself that more. Not that I regret quitting I didn't quit my job. Like I'm still working just per diem, but like I am now realizing that having structure is nice and like having like something you have to wake up early in the morning, go to this job, come back, and then I would just do all of my content creation right after. And that was actually like a decent schedule, but it is what it is. I wanted to try it, and yeah, I'm just doing it as it comes along.
Thank you so much for sharing that message. And Shilpa, I think you are one of those few people that I have met only for the first time. This is the first time we are actually meeting in person, and I have connected so deeply with everything that you said, everything that inspires you, all the things that you want to do, especially for being vulnerable. I think a lot more people need to do that, because growing up, I felt stuck in different situations where I was not able to, just like you mentioned, right? I was not able to figure out why I am doing certain things or what do I really like.
Right.
Do I even like something? I don't even know who I want to be. Before I even could ask that question myself, there were other societal, responsibilities on me. So the whole point of this podcast is, how do you do that? And why do you do that? And how can you do that? Because you can today.
Yes.
Whatever you do today, you can. So others who want to be in your position need to first be able to come to that point where they can. Like for me, my story, I couldn't do that financially. I had to come to a point where I'm financially.
Right.
So I had to study a lot, be focused on some different random things that I did not like. But then the reward, the fruit of that was, I get to do this today.
Yep.
I was so happy, and I can do it from anywhere I want. Right?
Absolutely.
And this is the lesson. This is the message I want to give to my viewers. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. And I hope that we collaborate together. For this episode, we typically joke about our sponsors. We don't have real sponsors. So joke about the sponsors. But because of the important things that you mentioned here today, I want this episode to be sponsored by our short film, AKELI, which is a very, very important topic based on true events. And I want every one of, folks in India who care about Indian women to go and check that movie out, because by the time this podcast is out, the movie will also be out. And it's made entirely in Seattle with all Seattle cast and crew.
Awesome.
So yeah, any message for AKELI?
I don't know what it's about, but I'm so excited to watch it.
Awesome. That's good enough. Thank you so much, Shilpa. You're such a pleasure.
Yes, it was so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Billy, come here. Get up. Say bye. Hello. Yes, this is our